It's a big difference between whether or not you give consent to proceed or whether you're a member of the bar, right? It's a big deal. But so is this. Once the jury was impaneled, the defense lawyer moved for the exclusion of witnesses, the only defense motion that Cooper granted in the case. There ensued this colloquy with the court. The prosecutor. May I approach the bench, Your Honor? The court. Certainly, with counsel. A judge should never meet on a case with one side of a controversy outside of the presence of the other side. Lawyers call this an ex parte communication, and it is a no-no. The colloquy continued. The prosecutor. Your Honor ordered the exclusion of witnesses, and there is someone among the spectators who appears to be a woman of easy virtue. The lawyers and the judges glanced back at the spectators' gallery. Seated in the first row was a lanky blonde wearing long earrings, leather pants, a low-cut top revealing her ample cleavage, and a white boa about her voluptuous shoulders. Her mouth was open as she chomped on a piece of chewing gum. The court. Gentlemen, what do you know of this? Defense lawyer. That's my wife, Judge. A lawyer must never be too quick to jump to conclusions. There were a million funny stories to come out of Judge Cooper's courtroom. I mean, it's just one of those things. Do you think when somebody dresses like that in a case of that sort, that is that a form of solidarity? Is that a sort of element of what they might call a control? Maybe even an internal control? Like to see if your colleagues understand the priority around their conceptualization of what constitutes professional conduct or due process or fair treatment before the law, right? All right, but that's not done. We're not done yet. Malachy, High King of Ireland, approximately 1022. A king of the southern branch of the Wee Neil of Meath, he became High King in 980 when he defeated the forces of the Viking leader Olaf Kuran, Olaf of the Sandals, at Tara. During the next 2 decades, he successfully attacked Dublin 3 times in 981, 989, and 995, imposing a tribute of 1 ounce of gold for each garden in the city. In 995, he plundered the Norse Ring of Thor, a ceremonial armband of precious metal, believed to be the collar of gold mentioned in Thomas More's melody, Let Erin Remember. Then there's a quote from a poem. I'm not going to read the poem. Malachi was engaged in constant rivalry with Brian Boru. In 997, at a meeting in Clonfert, each recognized the other's authority in his own half of the country. But in 1002, Malachi was forced to submit to Brian's supremacy as High King after a number of successful attacks on his territory. Malachi was formerly an ally of Brian's in the Battle of Clontarf in 1014 against the Norse and Maelmorda, the king of Leinster, but he withdrew his forces before the battle. The death of Brian Boru left him undisputed High King. Now, I could argue, as I'm wont to do, I don't believe there's any such thing as Irish kings. I think it's just something they said in order to appease those who needed a king. But that's not a unique theory, right? But here's this, just in case you need 3 references. Sometimes you need 3 references. In journalism, you're supposed to get 3 references to establish it as a fact. The centerpiece of the new structure was the courtroom itself, the ornate friezes, in what may generously be termed eclectic style, depict lawgivers and lawmakers throughout the centuries, from Hammurabi and Justinian to Moses, Muhammad, and Blackstone. But from the perspective of the visitor to the courtroom, what actually dominates the visual field behind the bench is an enormous red velvet curtain, for behind which the justices emerge like stage actors or high priests of some mystery religion. Seats in the courtroom are set aside for distinguished visitors. And on March 29th, these were full of luminaries, probably because the court packing plan had thrust the court into the center of national attention. On the right side of the courtroom, when seen from the audience's perspective, is a special box formerly given over to the justices' spouses. That morning, the ladies' box was full, always an independent indication that something important is going to happen. Then it discusses the first case in the building that is now understood to be where the Supreme Court of the United States performs its functions.